talk about a lot of political things, but underneath all of that is the Bible. I am unapologetically 100% in favor of it, is the Bible. Jesus is the Word. There is no delineation. If the Bible says it, that's what Jesus is, and that's what Jesus believes. That's what this podcast is actually about, is to actually alert people to what is coming and what is our responsibility in the midst of it.
I think we had a really great meeting, and we're very proud of the party here. We like everybody really in the room. I don't like a few people, but that's okay. I think you know who they are. But I'll give you that information someday. But for the most part, we have a really well unified party. And I said it very strongly. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the most powerful. We're the smartest. We're the most respected. 2 years ago, we were a laughing stock all over the world. We had a terrible group of people representing us. Every leader, I just left G7. Every leader, and we had a lot of people in addition to G7, as you know, came. Everyone said, what we've done in a year and a half is a miracle.
Junior soon big
Sorry,
comment. That one?
Check the website. I don't take contributions from big pharma executives. I don't take any corporate PAC money. And you and your allies already know that.
Where has socialism ever worked, Senator?
Is that another question, or is that for the next interview?
That's definitely for you. You said fish doesn't work everywhere. I just want to know one place where socialism has been beneficial.
Well, when you have me come back on, we can talk about all the races across the country.
Ready.
When X decided to show you where accounts were based, where they were set up, and where they were operated from, the DHS account showed Israel, that it was set up. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security's X account was set up using an IP address from Israel, using an Android app purchased in Israel. And that doesn't trouble people. Like, there should be an investigation over why, when the DHS set up its Twitter account, it was set up in Israel. Now, they claim, if you ask Grok about this, he'll walk around the bush with you.
Oh, of course.
And say that, well, there were some glitches back in the old day, and there were some contractors involved, and you can never get to the bottom of it.
I mean, you went out on a limb backing up Biden when he said that there would not be a pardon. In July of 2023, just after that plea deal fell through, this is what you said. I want to watch.
Do you think a pardon for his son would be a mistake?
Yes, and I don't think there's any chance that President Biden is going to do that, unlike his predecessor, who pardoned all of his friends and anyone who had any access to him. And I think you see that in this case, where he kept on, and Merrick Garland kept on, a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney to investigate the president's son. If there is not an indication of the independence of the Department of Justice beyond that, I don't know what we could look for.
What does that feel like, watching yourself back then, reassuring people that Biden was not going to issue a pardon for his son?
Congressman Moulton, do you endorse Graham Plattner in Maine?
What are you?
Do you endorse Graham Plattner in Maine?
Who are you? Who are you asking this question? You got to do a better job at hanging up your phone.
Folks in the South, you watch out. There's going to be an infestation of this mentality of these elites who don't care about, they didn't care where they came from. They ruin it, and then they want to pick up chocks and go someplace else and ruin that. So don't sit there and think, oh, this is amazing. Dallas, Fort Worth, don't be sitting there, rubbing your belly how great this is. We got the financial community coming down here. We're going to be a financial powerhouse. Hey, they're going to bring all their, what we've referred to as their deal baggage. It's all coming. All right, Wednesday night, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing good. As always, be blessed.
In the mighty name of Jesus, let me say it, everybody in the chat. Auntie Mama is on. Skunk71 is on. Guitar Glenn is on. General Plowman is on. Aggravain is on. Big Jim. Go Blue is on. Bill and Marcus are on. Let me see here. Arcadia Angels on. USA Abigail is on. PD Frank is on. Let me see. Scooter Magruder is on. Granted 2468 is on. Let me see. Robin Aroni is on. Jules 21 Hours is on. The Great T1AU is on. Aggravain is on. USA 1 Mike is on. Let me see. The one and only Release the Hog is on. Luann 5 is on. Uncle Wally is on. Dead Pal Fitty is on. Those Jesus People is on. Biggie 926 is on. K4. VMS is on. Milwaukee James is on. Conservative Waffle is on. Keeper 1376 is on. Captain Cliff is on. Milwaukee James is on. Scrolling down. Somebody I haven't seen yet. Snag Dog is on. Gloyd Shaw is on. Patrina C is on. Scrolling down. Jeannie Malfeasy is on. Scrolling down. I'm going to grab a couple more here. Let me see. Bud Dave is on. Conservative Waffle is on. Scrolling down. Graybeard 1930 is on. Let me grab at least one more that I haven't seen yet. Let me see. Be Chilled is on. Love you guys. Appreciate each and every one of you. All right, let's hop right to it. All right, greatness of Trump. Go to the first one for me. Eric Doherty video. Huge news. The U.S. Postmaster General has just told Congress that the post office will not deliver mail-in ballots in 2026 in the 2026 midterms to states who refuse to comply with President Trump's election integrity executive order. This is right here, the greatness of Donald Trump. Tom, you're a Trump critic. No, I'm a critic of whatever is wrong. That's it. And I will always give kudos to whatever is right. I will absolutely praise what's right and what's honest, and I will rip the crap out of anything that's wrong or flawed or disingenuous or corrupt. This is the greatness of Trump. This is what you do when you own the federal government, when you are running the federal government. You use it to your benefit. That's what you do. Oh, you can't say that out loud. I'm saying it out loud. That's what you do. Our benefit. Republican principles, conservative principles. I know Republicans aren't really conservatives, but they're supposed to be. That is their platform. So sometimes I say them like they're synonymous, but Republican/conservative principles are correct. Democratic principles are wretched and demonic. The problem is you have Democrats that are evil and Republicans that are cowards. And both the evil and the cowardly don't inherit the kingdom of God. So anyway, sometimes you have to choose between the lesser of two evils. I have chosen, I'm Republican. But anyway, this right here is the greatness of Trump. This is the greatness. You use your postmaster to come in. This is, I've been singing his praises on this all along. He is great on election integrity. He is great at sealing the border. Horrible at mass deportations now, but was great at mass deportations. Those are all facts. Was great at no new wars. He isn't now because of the last 118 days. Those are all facts. This is the greatness of Trump. To attack the Democratic election corruption machine. This is what you do. When you're in California, you're a month out of your mayoral election in LA, and nobody has any idea who's winning, and every one of the mail-in ballots end up going for everybody but Spencer Pratt. Donald Trump is warring against those things. This is the greatness of Trump. And when he does something great, it needs to be mentioned, as the other things. Nothing much happening on the Iranian front. Man, I'm glad. I'm so sick of talking about it.
For real.
So tired of talking about it. Now, occasionally I throw in things that I believe Aaron will love.
Oh, boy.
These are the Aaron slides. You see the singing ones, the musical ones. I actually looked for one that was the worst musical one I've ever heard. My wife couldn't find it. When we find it, I'm going to have it on the show for Aaron.
Great.
But anyway, go to the next one for me. This is for Aaron. Patriot Takes, Kash Patel's girlfriend, will now be performing at Freedom 250.
Great.
Here is the wretched horridness of Trump. Nobody knows who Alexis Wilkins is, but somehow she's performing at Freedom 250 after many other artists rejected the event. What a great honor to be part of the 250th birthday of this great nation.
Okay.
Just had to throw that in there for everybody. That's for Aaron. All right, go to the next one for me. Fox News tweet. Watch NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Here's the greatness of Trump. You're like, Tom, we thought you'd be, oh no, I'm not black-pilled. Whatever is true is true. Whatever is false is false. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte Rote, whatever his name is, unveils what he calls the Trump trillion as he credits President Trump with helping push European allies to boost defense spending so that we don't have to continue to go into mountains and mountains and trillions of dollars in debt, protecting countries that hate us. France hates us. The UK hates us. Spain hates us. Germany hates us. And yet we spend trillions of dollars defending them. And Mark Rutte, although a COVID totalitarian, somehow, I mean, maybe it's just he's a coward. Again, maybe he's a right winger that's a coward and he couldn't stand up to the COVID oppression, so he just gave into it. Plus, he was, very big. Has received awards from the World Economic Forum. Very big in the World Economic Forum. Very, very big in confiscating 40% of his home country, the Netherlands farmland. But anyway, for some reason, he's turned like Trump sycophant almost. But anyway, Rutte said Europe and Canada have added roughly $1.2 trillion in defense spending since Trump first entered office. The greatness of Trump. Now, it would be great if we weren't spending $90 billion on this war that we're in. But I digress. While also placing hundreds of billions of dollars in orders with U.S. defense companies. This is the greatness of Trump. The absolute greatness of Trump is that he's got them to spend money, but not only spend on their own defense, but spend it inside the United States. This is great. This is your evidence, said Rutte, but pointing to the numbers as he argued the alliance is moving closer to sharing the defense burden with the United States. This is the greatness of Trump, and it needs to be pointed out. Go to the next one. Now, this one here is a combination of the greatness of Trump and the wretchedness of Trump. The big oil companies are not dropping their price at the pump commensurate with the sharply lower prices they are paying for oil. Those prices are dropping like a rock. In other words, customers are being gouged. He pointed out specific companies later in the day, BP and 3 or 4 others. I have instructed the DOJ to immediately start looking into this. Gasoline prices better start going down a lot faster than what I'm seeing President Donald J. Trump. Okay, greatness and wretchedness of Trump. Well, first of all, the only reason why we're having this discussion is Trump's new war.
Yeah.
That caused, obviously we have a supply and demand issue with 20-30% of the world's oil goes through the strait. That, by the way, just so everybody knows, is still closed. Oh, it's not day 118, 118 days, and it's still closed. All right. And people are saying that it's open. We'll get to that. It's not open. Okay. It's marginally open.
Right.
But anyway, so the only reason why Trump even has to put this out is because of his own ridiculous war. But to Trump's benefit here, the greatness of Trump is that he knows that they are probably price gouging. But you can't trust corporations. Of course, all these corporations are leftist. If it wasn't for people like you and me, 241 people watching, even getting Donald Trump in office because of the great things that Trump does do, mixed with the lousy things that he does. But the greatness of Trump is right now, all these companies would be leftist. They'd be, doing their trans seminars, their proper pronoun seminars, all those different things, LGBTQ seminars, all that would be happening right now. But you can't get away with that because of the greatness of Trump. And him calling them out for gouging is the greatness of Trump. But the reason why they're able to gouge is the ridiculousness of Trump. And that's just the way that it is when you're playing politics. I thought Trump was different. He's not. He's not. It doesn't mean he can't turn it around. He's got 2.5 years to do so, and I hope that he does. And I hope that the Republicans win the midterms. I really do. You see what's happening in New York right now with Mamdani's. All of his endorsements are winning. They're all socialist and or Muslims. But Tom, you're Israel critical. That doesn't make me pro-Muslim.
Right.
Me being Trump critical doesn't make me pro-Kamala. It's ridiculous. Again, I can't stand the Islamic faith. I don't like the faith of Judaism either. Both of them will send you to hell because without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness of sins. Hebrews 9:22, the perfect Lamb of God shed his blood. Any religion that doesn't offer that is a hellbound religion. I don't like it. Simple as that. All right, go to the next one. Speaking of the Strait of Hormuz, now Mario Nawfal is reading this from somebody else. Mario Nawfal is a very much Israel critical, not anti-Semitic, Israel critical, Trump critical, but basically reads facts from other people too. So he reports on what other people say. I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just telling. I want it to be an honest evaluation of what Mario Nawfal is saying here, because he's reading this from somebody else. Steady flow returning to the Strait of Hormuz. 31 vessels crossed on June 23rd. Today the 23rd here? However,
24th.
Today's 4th, one day after. However, operators continue using cautious and dark routes amid uncertainty beyond the 60-day agreement window. Now, go to the next one for me. Do we get marine traffic? Did I actually? No, okay, cancel that. I thought I didn't give it to you. Well, it's my fault. It's my fault. Skip that. I mean, don't skip that next one. Just don't listen to me.
Yeah, got it.
All right, so Strait of Hormuz from marine traffic. Strait of Hormuz traffic remains active, but recovery stays cautious. So I went to Grok. Before the 2026 Iran war, pre-late February, now, no, they're saying steady flow returning. Is that steady flow to you? 31 vessels, is that steady flow? Before the war, 138 ships went through per day. 100 to 138 per day. So only 1/3 are going through using, oh, you guys are awesome. This is it. This is from yesterday. You guys are awesome. Yeah, I didn't send it in. It's my fault. So anyway, there you go. That's not steady flow. And notice how they're not actually going through the strait. They're actually going around the strait because Iran's running it. And there's nothing to stop Iran from charging fees coming up because Iran can't, remember now, they can't charge fees for 60 days. But then right after that, they're going into an alliance with Oman and they're going to do it together. And Iran's going to make $10 billion a year charging fees. This is why you don't go to war in the Middle East. You don't go to war in the Middle East. They will allow you. Iran will allow you to kill off 1/3 of their population to gain strategic and economic advantage. We won't do that. They will. We'll rightfully not do that. They will wrongfully do that. That's why you don't go into a situation that you cannot win unless it's absolutely life and death. Again, from Steve Bannon last night. You guys can bring it back to me. From Steve Bannon last night. What was the Iran threat for Americans? What was it? It didn't make the top 100 concerns of Americans. Not the top 100. Hezbollah's not in there. Hamas isn't in there. Iran's not in there. But yet we're fighting another war. Day 118 in Benjamin Netanyahu's 4-day war. As Benjamin Netanyahu is now swearing off the United States, saying we're gonna be able to do it on our own and all these different things. Well, it's funny as they're all saying that because they've actually kind of ceased hostilities in Lebanon because allegedly Trump has gone at them with hard threats like, you know what, you keep doing this stuff, you keep subverting my MOU, you're getting no military funding. Allegedly, that's what's happening. All right, completely off of Iran. Sort of completely off of Iran. This video right here, to me, is riveting. All right, Peter St. Onge's video. America is now paying, hear this now, foreign aid to 177 countries out of 197. And Congress just shipped another $50 billion out. Aaron, have the debt clock ready tonight. That may be very, very relevant, especially when I start talking about this video.
Yeah.
So we're actually sending, now we are $40 trillion in debt, $108 trillion true dollars in debt, and allegedly $300 trillion in debt, according to Steve Bannon. But yet we just shipped off another $50 billion. We have this big feud right now going on between Elon Musk and Ro Khanna about U.S. aid. And we're gonna deep dive into that in a minute and deep dive into where all of our money is going. But anyway, Peter St. Onge, play it for me.
Congress just handed out another $50 billion in foreign aid, lovingly doled out to 177 countries. Now, considering there's only 190 countries in the world, that means fully 96% of the world is getting a check from Washington. Basically, if we're not currently bombing you, we are currently paying you. Now, this is a very odd way to run an empire. Imagine the great empires of antiquity, the Romans, Song China, the Mongols. They did not, as a rule, pay their subjects. It's kind of supposed to go the other direction. In fact, given great slabs of the world sponge off our military umbrella, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Australia, Canada, of course Europe, we could charge them north of $1 trillion a year. The military budget could turn a profit. Instead, the entire world, well, 96% of the world, is getting paid. Now, a lot of this is hidden, either run through the Pentagon or it's lent as sweetheart rates with no expectation of repayment, a favored method of funding one of our main allies in the Middle East. And all this money is not, my friends. Europe, for example, would hate us even if we didn't pay them. No, it's to feed Washington's twin uniparty megagriffs, military contractors, and left-wing NGOs. To illustrate, in March, the GAO reported 60 to 70% of foreign aid never reaches the targets. It gets siphoned off by left-wing NGOs so they can riot for racial justice or burn Tesla dealerships. In military, the grift is almost the entire check. Warmongers like Lindsey Graham brag about the fact that U.S. contractors get the cash, ignoring the fact that every ton of steel that went into a tank for Ukraine came out of a railroad bridge in Ohio. Our military welfare is so promiscuous that many wars now involve both sides using weapons we gave them. Last year, India and Pakistan squared off with F-16 and Apache helicopters you paid for. Turkey and Greece regularly fondle their F-16s at each other. Turkey feeds surplus American weapons to Azerbaijan, who's at war with Armenia, to whom we also give billions in weapons. The entire Iraqi military was built with U.S. aid before we bombed it in the dust. We armed the Taliban against the Soviets, then rearmed them when Joe Biden ran off tail between legs. Multiple wars in Africa are now American arms on all sides, including the Congo Civil War that's killed 5 million people. And, of course, Mexico, where the Obama administration literally trafficked arms to the cartels to the point 80% of cartel-heavy arms come from the U.S. Now, Trump promised to slash foreign aid, and to be fair, he did cut regular aid by a third, famously defunding U.S. aid. That's still two-thirds too much, but even that took heaven and earth to lawyer past the NGOs. Unfortunately, Trump increased the other half of military aid, especially to the Middle East. He tripled so-called development financing to $205 billion, not including hundreds of billions in grand schemes to rebuild Ukraine and the Gaza Strip that thankfully have not gone anywhere. So what's next? Brought to you by the Bitcoin Way. From Chicago and Baltimore to Appalachia and the Rust Belt, America's got plenty of mouths to feed before we start paying Azerbaijan. Polls find Americans overwhelmingly want to cut foreign aid, including 91% of Republicans. Unfortunately, in Washington, money talks when contractors and NGOs are in the game.
All right, so there you go. Now, again, this just shows you, okay, the whole belief, and this is where I was 6 years ago. There's white hats and black hats. Understand, folks, it's gone. You have Christ, you have the Spirit of the Lord, and you have the spirit of the Antichrist. You have truth and lies. That's it. And most people on the quote-unquote right are liars. Everybody on the left is. Most on the right are. It's the way that it is. Sadly, you saw it all. Seen it all. They're all, no new wars, no new wars, no new wars. Then Trump says we're going to start a new war. We love new wars. They're liars. They're disgusting liars. All right, so let's just break down these numbers. I was a little off. I said that it was 177 out of 197 countries were receiving foreign aid from us. I was wrong. It's 177 out of 190. 96% of countries in the world receive our money. Why? And I love the part where we are arming both sides of about every war that's going on in the world. I mean, that's basically true. Now, why would that be? I mean, where's the good guy, bad guy stuff? It's not there. It's because people are getting rich off of it, and it's the military-industrial complex, but it's really, I mean, it's all of them. It's everybody connected with the bourgeois, globalist, leftist, elitist, the World Economic Forum. Every member of the military-industrial complex, Raytheon, all the rest of them, are owned by BlackRock, who was run by Larry Fink, a devout, pro-abortion leftist now running the World Economic Forum, and, of course, an Israeli. But we are arming both sides of military conflicts all around the world. Why would we do that? How does that benefit you and I? Now, why do I tell you this? Vote accordingly. Stop voting for the electable Republican, the Lindsey Graham-ish person. I know out of the 245 people that are watching this podcast right now, I know none of you voted for Lindsey Graham. I'm just saying, symbolically speaking, the next decision right here in Florida will be Byron Donalds versus James Fishback. Okay, you gonna vote for Fishback? You gonna vote for doing this again? Byron Donalds is a data center whore. He's corrupt. He's receiving lots and lots of money via his political investments. And see, now you're like, Tom Fishback could go bad. Yeah, I know. Trump went bad too.
Yep.
But at least we tried. Trump was deemed unelectable. Remember that? So none of us, we all voted for him. Against Jeb Bush, who was very electable, and the other 13 people on the stage. Now, sadly, Donald Trump is now acting like Marco Rubio, who he defeated in on the debate stage by calling him Little Marco. He's acting just like him now, though. Okay, so Donald Trump's let us down. Doesn't mean he can't turn around. He's let us down so far, in my opinion. 80% of cartel arms are coming from us. We pay for our own. We pay for mass rape, mass torture, mass killing of the cartels in South America. You and I do that. 80% of their arms come from us. I love this part. This might have been my favorite. We built the Iraqi army and then blew it into oblivion. That should sound eerily familiar to you because we just sunk the 129 ship navy of Iran, and now we're going to spend $300 billion giving it back. Oh, but it's not U.S. taxpayer revenue. If you believe that, I've got swampland behind you. And by the way, that sounds also eerily familiar to you because we also left $86 billion worth of high-tech American military equipment on the ground in Afghanistan for them to become the 26th largest army on the planet. Weird, until we go back into Afghanistan and blow up our own army vehicles again.
Right.
This shows you how ridiculous this is. Why? Why? Because people get rich off of it. It's, again, a giant symbiote circle bleep. The 535 on Capitol Hill, and believe me, I know that it's way more than that. I know it's actually a few 100,000 people is really what it is that make up the Washington establishment. But for ease of conversation, I'm going to call it the 535. The Senate and the House. And all of their staffs and all of their butt buddies, literally and figuratively, all of their families and their law firms, they all get rich off of doing this. I have become convinced that there's no such thing as a legitimate billionaire because I believe they were all initially seeded by our taxpayer dollars. You can't be $188 trillion in debt and not have given basically worldwide funding to a whole bunch of people that are now rich. George Soros, it's all our tax dollars. And see, did he ever really make his own money? Did the Pritzkers ever really make their own money? The Pritzkers are part of 39 NGOs. That's Hilton, by the way. No, it's not Hilton. Hyatt. It's Hyatt, by the way. That's who they are. J.B. Pritzker was so stupid they kicked him out of their own family business. But I'm getting convinced that's really the way that it is around the world. That nobody is a legit millionaire or billionaire. They all get seeded. Now I know there's smaller time millionaires. I'm talking about 100, close to billionaires and above. I'm talking about a guy who has his own AC company and he builds, and now it's worth 20 or 30 million. I'm talking about giant billionaires. Even Elon Musk, who I like, he gets most of his money from the government.
Yep.
Most of his money is from the government. So anyway, I'm getting pretty convinced now, whether it's electric cars or whatever it is, that basically what happens is that they're not rogue politicians, but they are rogue, but they're mainstream. They are common. They are the norm. So anyway, they find out, and this is all the corrupt investments and everything else, but it's a two-way street though, and it all benefits the 535. Either they corruptly invest because they are regulating areas of the economy that they're investing in, so they get that, or they fund NGOs via our tax dollars, and then that money ends up being circle bleeped back to them. So in other words, you get like Planned Parenthood gets $60 million a year. It used to be $600 million. Now they get nothing because that's the greatness of Trump. So they get nothing. So they get $600 million under every Democrat. And as soon as a Democrat comes back in, they'll refund it because Mike Johnson will bend over, spread his butt cheeks, and take the turkey baster off the rectum. That's what Mike Johnson always does. But anyway, so he'll refund it, just like Mike Johnson gleefully funded trans surgeries for minors for Joe Biden. But anyway, so what they do is they give $600 million to Planned Parenthood. Then Planned Parenthood funds various Democratic Party initiatives. Democratic Party, first of all, everybody working at Planned Parenthood, everybody in the leadership structure is a multimillionaire funded by Democrats, funded by you and me though. You're the one. The Democrats are throwing around our money to go kill babies. So anyway, their institution, everybody up there making six figures. Then they're hiring all their attorneys and everything else, which are all Democrats. They're making six figures. And then the Planned Parenthood themselves, whether it was Ruben Gallego against Kari Lake, they gave $10, $12, $15 million to Ruben Gallego for his campaign. And again, your campaign funds, these people live off of them. So they get rich off the campaign funds. Plus, all you got to do is say you get $15 million from Planned Parenthood. You get your wife to buy your campaign ads. So you spend $5 million on campaign ads, let's say. Let's make it even. $10 million on campaign ads. Well, your wife then gets to keep 10% of that according to federal law. See how it all works? How's that working for you? How's any of this? How is our $188 trillion of debt, how is that working for you? You'd at least think our roads would be good, but they're not. You think we'd have a really robust military, but we really don't. We're tiny. We have 1.2 million soldiers, and only 300,000 or 400,000 of them can fight. But yet we act like we can be in every conflict around the globe. It's not working, folks. All right, so let's break this down. So Ro Khanna versus Elon Musk. Ro Khanna versus Elon Musk. Marco Foster video. Here's Ro Khanna. Here's what started the feud. Ro Khanna, there needs to be accountability for Elon Musk for celebrating that he created 4,400 millionaires, but they don't talk. Now, Ro Khanna is a multi-millionaire. How many millionaires has Ro Khanna created? None. Okay, keep that in mind. But they don't talk about the 4.5 million children around the world who he possibly sentenced to death by dismantling USA. Now, Elon Musk has threatened to sue him over that statement. But here's the statement. Play it for me.
And I do believe that once we take power, there has to be accountability. There needs to be accountability for Elon Musk. You know, they're celebrating that he created 4,400 millionaires, but they don't talk about the 4.5 million children around the world who he possibly sentenced to death by dismantling USAID. He needs to answer for that. He needs to be subpoenaed. He needs to face investigation. He needs to answer for what he did with Doge. That it's not just let's move on. And we will use the Oversight Committee and the Judiciary Committee to hold people accountable who violated the law on ICE and abused power with ICE, who violated the law in killing people on boats in the Caribbean, who violated the law when it came to Iran and some of the strikes, who violated the law with Doge. There will be accountability. There needs to be accountability before reconciliation. And certainly there are voices like Robert Garcia, Jamie Raskin, myself, who are for aggressive oversight and investigation, including of the Epstein class.
All right, so that's what started it. So Elon Musk came back. I'll just fill in the blanks here. And this is what happens. See this woman's face? That's what happens from being a lifelong Democrat. This is what happens to your face when you're a lifelong Democrat. You literally just become sour suck. You got a sour suck face. Look at her. I mean, gosh, dog, I hope nobody has to come home to that at night. But anyway, yeah, rough. I mean, I would never advocate divorce, but woof. But anyway, so this video came out. Elon came out, threatened to sue Ro Khanna. So Ro Khanna then put out this video, Ro Khanna video. Play it for me.
Today, Elon Musk threatened to sue me, and he called on the Justice Department to put me in prison. That's right. The world's richest person has spent all day tweeting going after me. Why? Because I cited an academic study that his Doge cuts may lead to the deaths of millions of children overseas. You know, Elon, I thought you were a free speech guy. Why not debate me on these issues instead of threatening lawfare? You're not going to be able to intimidate me. I'm the guy who stood up to the Epstein class and worked with Massey to get the Epstein files released. I'm the guy who stood up against AIPAC and called out a genocide. And I'm the guy who stood up to billionaires in my district who ran someone against me and still called for a wealth tax. So I'm not going to be intimidated or silenced. I need your help. I need the help of folks to sign this petition and help me stand up to power and fight for truth and justice.
And Aaron brought up a very valid point as we're watching this. Here's the thing. Yes, you have free speech. And this is what the Democrats always do. They ban me for life from YouTube, which is a platform, not a publisher. They don't even have the legal right to do so, but I have no recourse. And neither does anybody else. Got 30,000 followers on Facebook, and nobody's watching the show right now. But anyway, so that's what they'll advocate. They ban speech. They had their disinformation governance boards with Nina Jankowicz, all that singing and all. Remember that? So anyway, they're all fine with that. Okay. But then when they get threatened to be sued, now here's the thing. You have free speech. Absolutely. If you slander somebody, okay, you can be civilly sued, not put in jail, but civilly sued for it. So in the midst of your free speech, if you slander somebody, you can be sued, but it's not criminal. So you have free speech. You can even freely slander people, but you could pay a civil cost for it. So anyway, that's what the game that left always plays. So let's break this down. Tom Elliott tweet. This is a great breakdown. How many people has Elon Musk personally murdered via his work helping defund USAID? Now, why am I talking so much about this tonight? Because I want you to know where all your money goes. It goes to enrich the 535. And you're like, well, no, it just went into USAID. It goes into USAID, then it goes into NGOs, and then those NGOs are the ones who are funding the purchases of the stocks that the congressmen and women are buying into. That's how it works, okay? Oh, we're part of the presidential budget, $6 billion for electric cars. And they all know that 6 months in advance. So they all buy that stock 6 months in advance. Or the NGO does that they personally supported. And they all get the money. That's how they all end up filthy, rotten rich. How many people has Elon personally murdered via his work helping defund USAID? I have run the numbers. USAID, which is the United States Agency for International Development, has nothing to do with aid. And people are too stupid to realize that. Not us, not the 277 here, but most people are too stupid to look into it. As people outside CNN's viewership already know, operates largely as a CIA cutout, placing assets on the ground in countries where the U.S. government is intervening politically and where Democrats are profiting, as well as people like Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham. U.S. aid was instrumental in helping seed the following revolutions, coup d'etats, and civil wars. Now, Elon Musk is killing people. Here's what U.S. aid has done. It's not we are the world, we are the people. This is what it actually does. Here's their civil wars. Serbia, Venezuela, Georgia, Ukraine, Haiti, Lebanon, Belarus, Honduras, Tunisia, Egypt, Ukraine, Bolivia. I can't really pronounce this one. Kyrgyzstan, Venezuela, Haiti. Let me see. Bolivia, Donbass war, Ukraine full-scale war, 2022 to present. So far, we're up to somewhere north of 365,000 deaths from the wars that U.S. aid has caused. U.S. aid? I thought they were feeding kids. What else do we have, says Tom Elliott? U.S. aid also helped fund poppy heroin farmers in Afghanistan. Unfortunately, I haven't seen estimates of how many have died as a result of this taxpayer-funded drug dealing, but I'm assuming they're not small numbers. USAID also worked with groups sexually abusing and trafficking children in Kenya and in Central Africa, the Central African Republic in 2013. Much earlier during Vietnam, USAID helped the CIA feed Hmong guerrillas fighting communist forces, not the worst thing. USAID also helped the Hmong militia and other warlords smuggle opium, not so great. Opium. While the first tally is hard to properly calculate, if past is a predicate in helping shut down USAID, Elon Musk could be saving hundreds of thousands of lives. Go to the next one for me. Elon Musk tweet. All Doge required, this is just horrible, was contact information of the recipients to confirm that funding was not fraudulent. No validated medical funding was ever stopped. Anything that appeared to be legitimate, life-saving funding continued and is now administered by the State Department. If anyone had actually died as a result of Doge, their names would be worldwide headline news. On the other hand, USAID did help fund the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which caused the deaths of millions and the revolution that started the Russian-Ukraine war. Absolutely. And as Peter St. Onge said earlier, why would Elon need to track the receipts? Because 80% of our foreign funding doesn't meet its target. Remember, there's 190 countries in the world. We send money to 177 of them. 80% of our money never reaches its target. Where does it go? Into the pockets of the politicians that send it to them. And their families, and their law firms, and their wives, and their kids, and their various fundraising entities like the Bill and Hillary Clinton Foundation, their various foundations and organizations and agencies. That's where it goes. We are nothing more. They make the billionaires, so Ben Shapiro just got $100 million worth of seed money into Daily Wire. Why? They're like, Tom, he's conservative.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Okay, he's Mossad, all right? But anyway, why would you send $100 million to a company that is firing 30% of its workforce and has lost 30 to 40% of its viewership? Why? And that's really I'm being conservative. Basically, nobody watches Ben Shapiro. Nobody. I don't know if he would actually, if he went live right now, he'd have many more live viewers than we do. He'd probably have way more views, but I'm talking about live viewers that are actually real and that aren't bought views. But anyway, Why would he be getting $100 million? Because that $100 million is that's our money. You're like, no, it's layered 30 different times. It's layered 30 different times. That's correct. Into this NGO, into this organization, then somehow into a private company that then sends it to Ben Shapiro. I mean, Nick Fuentes has been talking a lot about Ben Shapiro recently because how are they even in business? Because how's CNN in business? Think about what $1 billion would do. I'm sitting here right now in the studio at Foundation Church. We bring in $3.8 million a year into this ministry, all right? On average. $1 billion into Foundation Church. I mean, we're funded for 1,000 years. I mean, again, $1 billion is 1,000 millions making interest.
Yeah.
$1 billion sent into CNN. You saw recently, this came out in the news today, that Dominion voting machines, which is now called something like freedom voting, or it is seriously, it's like freedom voting. It's like calling themselves like legit voting. They dropped all their lawsuits against Mike Lindell. But Fox News, I don't remember what it was, Aaron. You might remember, Will, you might remember. But Fox News paid Dominion hundreds of millions.
Oh, yeah.
It was like 700 million or something like that for having guests on shows that claimed that Dominion voting may not be above board. They didn't advocate it as Fox News, but yet they had to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to Dominion. Didn't even fight it. Why wouldn't they fight it? Because the same companies own Fox News and Dominion. So basically, it's really just a stock swap. It's really all that it is, a cash stock swap. That's all it is. Hard to say that in a hurry. So anyway, there you go. $787 million Fox News gave to Dominion without a lawsuit, and Dominion just dropped all of their lawsuits against Mike Lindell. Why doesn't Fox News complain about it? Because they own each other.
Yep.
Sounds like Vanguard and BlackRock, doesn't it? Yeah, just like that. It's all a giant shell game. Think Fox News are good guys? They're not. They're not. All right, go to the next one for me. Doge designer tweet. Breaking, Elon Musk calls out Ro Khanna as his household wealth reportedly grew from just a mere 27 to 46 million to an estimated 232 million. 631 million total volume across 38,000 trades. It's appropriate, the last three numbers, 38,666 trades since entering Congress. Most prolific Democratic trader in House history. 2022 investigation found 15% overlap between his legislative work and his family stock holdings, and he calls it a blind trust. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. He says it's a blind trust. Somebody just runs it for him. But it's funny that, you know what, there's a lot of very crucial overlaps. Or right in the areas of the economy that he's regulating, he's making a lot of money off of because he makes just a perfect timed stock trade. Ro Khanna's AI-focused trades returned 112% excess over the S&P, and he's not in prison. Everybody else is in prison but Ro Khanna. And Tom Massey needs to stop doing things with Ro Khanna. From January 2024 to April of 2026, right now, far beating even Nancy Pelosi's 38%. Nancy Pelosi's a plus 38.5% outperformance. 143% return on NVIDIA shares. Bought via wife's trust in February 2024. Wouldn't have anything to do with his insider knowledge, though, right? Right before the CHIPS Act helped double the stock. What he's voting on. CHIPS Act came from Joseph Robinette Biden. Ro the Robber Khanna seems to be the most active insider trader in Congress. There you go. Go to the next one for me. It should be Ro Khanna's net worth. Should be a pick of Ro Khanna's net worth. You went backwards. There you go. There's Ro Khanna's net worth. $30 million when he entered Congress, and he's just up a little bit. He's only up through $200 million. Yeah. $203 million to be exact.
Yeah.
Folks, and who's he attacking? He's attacking the world's richest man. Look at this guy. The world's richest man who actually has SpaceX. What are the other things, Aaron, that he's made? PayPal, Tesla, and there's others too. I can't think of right now. But anyway,
the internet one.
The internet one. I can't remember.
What is it? Starlink.
Starlink. Awesome. Oh yeah, Starlink's huge. Yeah. Starlink's running the Ukraine war right now.
The Boring Company.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot.
Yeah, a ton. Starlink is running the Ukraine war.
Yeah,
not good, but it's true. But anyway. So there you go. That actually shows you what Ro Khanna is actually all about. He claims to be this middle-of-the-road guy, but he's nothing but corrupt. Nothing but corrupt. So now you know. I mean, this, again, white hats, black hats. We already knew Ro Khanna was a black hat. But everything that he says is disingenuous. Not one thing that the man spouts is true. And why is he not in federal prison? Why? That's what Elon Musk was talking about. Him, Nancy Pelosi, and everybody else. But they just keep getting voted in over and over and over again. By corrupt elections, by the way, which is the greatness of Trump as he is addressing it. All right, go to the next for me. Katie Miller tweet. Here's what Doge found the USAID money was being spent on. Everyone's going to love this. It's been a while since we've looked at this stuff. Remember how fun this was back in February of 2025 when Donald Trump was still Donald Trump? Elon Musk was there, and he had little X flying on Air Force Two with Donald Trump, or not Air Force Two, the helicopter, whatever that's called.
Marine One.
Marine One. Thank you, Aaron. Marine One. Remember those great days until the globalists kicked Elon Musk out. But anyway, here's what Doge found, and now all of this stuff has just been reinstituted through the State Department. But anyway, $4.8 million to Ukraine's public affairs office in Kiev to fund social media influencers. $40 trillion in debt. $2.1 million to Paraguay to enhance their border security. That's number one. When I wake up in the morning, I'm going, I wonder how the border security is in Paraguay. Ukrainian women led designers to fly to the Paris fashion show. Our money went to that. $2 million on transgender surgeries, hormone therapy, and gender affirming care in Guatemala. $3 million to promote girl-centric climate action in Brazil. Remember, what am I talking about here? I'm talking about Ro Khanna claiming that Elon Musk's Doge 2 years ago, year and a half ago, kills 4.5 million children. Here's where the USAID money was going. In USAID, United States Agency for International Development, $3 million to promote girl-centric climate change in Brazil. And nobody can even tell me what that exactly means. $25,000 for transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 in Peru for a comic book featuring a trans hero to tackle social media and mental health issues, $20,000 for DEI promoting drag theater show in Ecuador, $20 million for a new Sesame Street show in Iraq, $6 million to boost sustainable tourism in Egypt, plus $50 million for Tunisia's tourism. Man, this is good, isn't it? Let me see, $87.9 million to help Afghans farm. Which just happened to include poppy fields, heroin. That's where your tax dollars are going. And by the way, we're still spending $40 million a week in Afghanistan. Just sending it to them. And John Thune refuses to do anything about it. John Thune barely acknowledges that it's happening. $70,000 for a live musical promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility in Ireland. Ireland really needs our money. Over $54 million funneled to EcoHealth Alliance, the group linked to the Wuhan Institute of Virology and the likely origins of COVID. $15 million to the Taliban-controlled Afghanistan for oral contraceptives and condoms. What? Aaron, can you tell me what an oral contraceptive is?
I have no idea.
Oh, I mean, I guess you take them orally. Them orally.
Yeah.
We're our mind's in the gutter. So I'm thinking about an oral condom.
Right? Yeah. I was like,
you mouth up, you put out a condom, like an oral condom.
It's like a cup.
Yeah. Yeah, you're breaking it. But anyway. Don't worry, you can't get pregnant anyway. That's what they can give anyway. All right, go to the next one for me. Senator Rand Paul tweet. U.S. taxpayer money funneled through the USAID and NIH funded gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. That research likely caused the COVID pandemic that killed millions and cost trillions. And Ro Khanna is claiming that Elon Musk killed or possibly killed 4.5 million kids. The ones that Ro Khanna won't abort. Because he aborts, he's gleefully aborts 42 million worldwide per year that we know about. Gleefully. But he's worried about U.S. aid allegedly, possibly, maybe saving 4.5 million. Dr. Fauci personally signed off on these experiments and lied to Congress about it. Now he's refusing his congressional subpoena, which he initially said that he would appear for. Now Anthony Fauci is saying, I'm not going to come. So now they've actually had to officially subpoena him, which would be a crime for him not to return, not to show up for, unless, of course, unless he gets the Democratic exception. I mean, Navarro goes to prison for doing it. Bannon goes to prison for doing it, even though they had executive privilege. He doesn't have it. And by the way, if you've been pardoned, you're not allowed to plead the fifth. So there we go. All right, so here we go. Go to the next one for me. Mike Ben's video. Riddle me this, Rokana. If closing USAID could cause so many child deaths in Africa, why would the African Union's top diplomat in D.C. celebrate USAID's shutdown? Play it for me.
We need to understand the real reason why USAID is in Africa. Their sole purpose was to act as if they're coming to rescue Africa. They're coming to fill in the gaps in government services, gaps in education, gaps in healthcare. They are coming in claiming that they're introducing grassroots initiatives that are going to help the people. And so they use that as a way to go into the most remote parts of Africa. They're talking about government advocacy. When you look at it on paper, it all looks really good, but they're actually wolf in sheep's clothing. They are using that open access sounding humanitarian to constantly destabilize governments. I can tell you right now, the majority of African leaders, and not just African leaders, but leaders in the developing world, are celebrating the exit of USAID.
And then Rokana says, as the African Union is celebrating their departure, Rokana is saying that USAID's departure is killing 4.5 million kids, primarily in Africa, which of course is not true. And then you have it right there. They're just going around destabilizing governments. Why would you're like, well, maybe that's good because they're destabilizing governments that are not very humanitarian. No, what they're doing is doing exactly what they did in Ukraine, causing a war that's been going on since 2022 as Democrats primarily and people like Lindsey Graham profit off of it. It's what it's all about. The love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. That's just the way that it is. And it's generalized. Can I say for sure that Lindsey Graham profits off of Ukraine? No, they profit off of the military activity that they funnel money to via USAID. Why do you think that Tommy Cotton wants to merge Mossad and CIA via 622 in the Senate and 224 in the House? It's been changed now to some other number, but it was 224. Why do you think they want to do that? Because they're all going to profit off of it. More wars that they will never fight in. But they continue to get the money sent into the military industrial complex and then sends it back to Democrats and their think tanks and their Atlanta councils. You retire from the military as a compliant bent-over general, and then you get a slot on the Atlanta Council. You get to be like Hunter Biden. You get to be a consultant on the board of Burisma, whatever it is. Or you go like Lloyd Austin from public service, and I hate to even call it public service, but for ease of conversation, I'll call it that. Government service, back to Raytheon, then back to government service, then back to Raytheon. So while he's working, sorry, my nose is itching like crazy. While he's working at Raytheon, he's securing contracts for the government. Then while he's working in the government, he's securing contracts with Raytheon. Because both entities know that he'll go back and forth. So they know they've got a double agent that just go back and forth. When he's with the government, he's going to secure contracts for Raytheon. When he's with Raytheon, he'll make sure he secures more government contracts for Raytheon. That's how it works. Wall Street Apes video. By the way, that's not just Lloyd Austin. That's Republicans and Democrats. That's why they're always advocating for more wars. I mean, again, if you were reliant on wars to be a multi-billionaire, what would you continue to start? If you depended on cancer to fund you, to make you a multi-millionaire medical conglomerate, billionaire medical conglomerate owner, what would you want? Would you want cancer to be cured? If you're making billions off of wars, would you want peace? Now, you and I as principled people would say yes. But most people are not principled. They're not. Enter ye in at the straight gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. And many there be which go in thereat, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. You see it. That's Matthew 7:13 and 14. You see it. You see the unprincipled charlatans like Sean Ferris, Benny Johnson, Gunther Eagleman, Cat Turd. One day they espouse one thing that gives them profit, and the next day they espouse another thing that gives them profit. The day before that they were against, they're now for, because if they stay against it, they will lose clicks and profit. That's how most people are. Don't be like that. That's called the love of money. Benny Johnson has a love of money. So he will advocate no new wars. He'll advocate that for years. And then when Trump says we're going to start a new war in the worst possible location on the planet, the Middle East, and the worst possible area in the Middle East, the Persian Gulf and Iran, as soon as Donald Trump says we're going to start a new war, Benny Johnson sells out for money and advocates for new wars. None of us are like that, but he is. And so is most people in Trump's orbit. They are. We've seen it. Sad, but true. All right, going to the next Wall Street Apes video. The money being spent for USAID wasn't for humanitarian efforts. This is Mike Benz. USAID money was being laundered to George Soros to pay for protests. Play for me.
USAID gave $5 million to Open Society Foundation Macedonia. $5 million, a direct grantee. With the help of then President Barack Obama's U.S. ambassador to Macedonia, the U.S. government spent millions of taxpayer dollars to destabilize the democratically elected center-right government by colluding with Soros. So USAID is actually funding Soros, and Soros is passing those funds to the people on the ground, the local politicians, the local judges, the local prosecutors, the local anti-corruption NGOs, the local media outlets, the local trade labor groups and unions. One NGO funded by the USAID Soros Alliance paid for the translation into Macedonian of Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. So USAID paid to have Saul Alinsky street protest handbooks printed. How funny is that?
How is that American? How's that a democratic republic that you and I are paying for the publishing of Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals? That's a leftist, that is a leftist Mein Kampf. But you and I are paying for that. You and I are paying for our own political oppression via Soros, bought and paid for. District attorneys around the country. You and I paid for that. This is a real dastardly one. Michael Carbonero video. While USAID planned to route hundreds of millions of dollars to Ukraine, but where did it end up? Play it for me.
But we're going to cover one thing we broke overnight. A lot of you probably heard about it over the course of the day. The United States government, the National Security Agency, intercepted conversations of President Zelensky's government in Ukraine in 2022, late 2022, conspiring with federal workers at the USAID to come up with a plan to take $200 million of USAID money. That is your money, folks, taxpayer money, route it through a series of transactions, move it into the United States, and launder it into Joe Biden's 2024 campaign and the Democratic National Committee. We have the intercepts for the first time. Tulsi Gabbard's team was willing to declassify them. There is now an investigation underway, beginning with USAID, to look at who was involved, whether any crimes were committed, and if that is the case, to refer that to the FBI in the next few days. Those declassified documents up at justthenews.com. You can go check about it today. Members of Congress have been clamoring all day to get their hands on the documents. I expect Tulsi Gabbard to make a statement later tonight on where things are evolving in her investigation. But we've gone from the era of weaponization, where the primary tool was using prosecutors and FBI agents to disable Donald Trump and his followers and all the good people around him, to now potentially conspiring with foreign powers to have an impact on our elections. We have the Ukraine stuff this morning, and remember what we told you 3 weeks ago. Proof from the FBI that China sent tens of thousands of driver's licenses to the United States with fake names to get fake ballots to vote for Joe Biden in the 2020 election. Those aren't my words. Those are the words of the FBI informant in the FBI documents that we made public a few months ago. So China possibly conspiring with Joe Biden and the Democrats, and now possibly Ukraine. 2 investigations underway. We're going to keep you apprised of that right now.
This is the perfect example right here. This is how it works. Our tax dollars via USAID, $200 million sent to Ukraine for Ukrainian aid, right? USAID, right? I know that's not what it stands for. But anyway, so it gets sent there. It then gets put into NGOs, which then they layer it, you buy, sell, whatever, and they layer it out, and it all gets sent back into Joe Biden's campaign. This is how it works, folks. This is it. Like, don't you love the United States? I love the essence of the United States. You know, quoting from Gladiator, there was a dream that was Rome. Rome will be a republic again. And yet, listen, if we were actually what we were supposed to be, Yes, but we're not. We're a crony capitalistic society. That's what we are. Yes, there's community exceptions to that. There's maybe like the state of Florida. That's an exception to that. But really what we are is we are funding our own politicians. The few million people that live in the Beltway inside of D.C., we're making them all rich. And the various people that lick their boots. That's all we're doing. I thought the United States was righteous. It's not. We are corrupt to the gills by our own quote unquote leadership. Donald Trump's sons are making billions right now off of what Trump is regulating and what Trump is governing. Because it's wrong for Biden to do it, it's also wrong for Trump to do it. You're not a Christian if you don't advocate evil when evil is evil and truth when truth is truth. If you advocate that evil is true and that truth is evil, listen, you're not a Christian. Just because you voted for a pro-life candidate does not make you a Christian. You have to call evil evil. If Donald Trump does something evil, you call it evil. When Biden does something evil like this, funneling $200 million of our taxpayer dollars into his own campaign coffers, that's corruption to the hilt. And we will see over the test of time. Does Trump's DOJ, run by a Democrat named Todd Blanche, who changed Republican in 2021, are people going to go to prison for this? Because there's nothing more to discuss here. This is bona fide fraud and corruption. All right, speaking of that, go to the next one for me. I think this is my last one on Ro Khanna versus, it's kind of my last deal with Ro Khanna versus Elon Musk. Ro Khanna, remember, Doge and Elon Musk potentially killed 4.5 million kids. Why did Kaneko the Great tweet? Why did Fauci's NIAID and USAID send $44 million in U.S. taxpayer funding to the Wuhan Institute of Virology? So, again, let me just say this to you. Our number one geopolitical threat on the planet is not Israel. Our number one geopolitical threat is not Russia, it's China. All right? Think about in World War, would we send tens of millions of dollars in World War II to downtown Berlin for them to develop biological weapons? No, but for some reason we're doing it now. Why? So Fauci gets rich. Ralph Barrick gets rich. All the NGOs attached to that financing. Peter Daszak and Eco Health Alliance, which is an NGO, gets rich. Nothing to do with solving any sort of health issue. Why did Fauci's NIAID and USAID send $44 million in taxpayer funding to the Wuhan scientists studying the risk of bat coronavirus emergence, who later became the world's first known COVID-19 case? It's almost as if Fauci's NIAID and USAID funded the creation of COVID-19, which, of course, they did. And that's why Fauci is now refusing to come and testify before a committee that's being run by Rand Paul. All right, go to the next one for me. Jason Cohen video. New Dr. Peter McCullough says Fauci has committed 2 crimes. Play it for me.
What would you say to Anthony Fauci right now today?
I would say that a man who seeks 10 years of clemency, which he did, by the way, to get a pardon, it's not handed out without a request. He approached Biden for 10 years pardon for crimes he knew he committed. He knew he committed. That's the reason why he asked for clemency. I would tell him, listen, the world understands that Fauci has committed 2 crimes. One is fraudulent concealment. He intentionally concealed the origins of SARS-CoV-2 from his funded projects in Wuhan. It's fraudulent concealment. If we would have known what the story was originally, I think we could have done better in our pandemic response. And the second major crime I think he committed is mass negligent homicide by 2 mechanisms. First, he worked to suppress our efforts at publishing and promulgating early treatment protocols, which worked to get people through the illness. And secondly, he relentlessly promoted unsafe vaccines that took hundreds of thousands of American lives and millions of lives worldwide. It's been the greatest biological catastrophe mankind has ever seen. And largely, Fauci is responsible for orchestrating this on the...
And just put the next one up and just put it side by side, the federal funding. So there's the federal funding for Eco Health Alliance right there. And look at the amount. USAID, am I reading that right, Aaron? $53 million from USAID into, and there's the various agencies, how much they spent over an 18-year period to funding Equal Health Alliance, which is Peter Daszak. Again, another NGO who then donates to the people that are funding him. That's how it all works, folks. They get $5 million. Let's say they get $5 million. They donate $1 million back to the people who gave them the $5 million. It's all kickbacks. It's all corrupt. And you see it. Look at the Department of Defense. That's all coming out now. On the redacted stuff, I'm going to see. I'm going to have to see if I can get it. But anyway, that's all coming out. And I could talk about the vaccine program was a DOD op from day one. That's all been proven now. It's all coming out. Will Trump, who loves Operation Warp Speed, actually go and prosecute the people? We'll see. I hope he does. But anyway, see where's Eco Health's money come from? From the Department of Defense, USAID, which is the CIA, and Health and Human Services. Look at all of our taxpayer dollars. But Peter McAuliffe says Fauci is guilty of 2 crimes. The first one is fraudulent concealment. Again, I can't deep dive. Maybe I just will. I don't know. But anyway, I can't. It's actually hard for me to talk and not layer everything out. But during the initial stages, the Alpha variant, they had prophylactic treatments in place. Ivermectin, trying to remember all of them now. Hydroxychloroquine, vitamin D, sunlight, all different. They had lots of different treatments, and of course, all of them were what's the one from the cell treatments? The mono.
Can't remember.
Just find it for me. Find it for me though, because it's gonna drive me crazy. You'll find it. But anyway,
monoclonal
therapies. You're the man. Yep. So monoclonal therapies. All of those were suppressed by Anthony Fauci, costing, and they've all been proven. I mean, the ivermectin, I believe, was a 70% improvement all for COVID cases. And again, I don't want to overblow COVID. That's what in my mind. I'm always trying to balance what's real and what's not, because COVID killed 0.1% of the people who ever got it. I'm talking about not 0.1% of the population, 0.1% of people who got COVID, 1/10 of 1%. All right. So the survival rate for COVID was 99.997%. So I don't want to blow it up either. But of those who would die of COVID, which is basically the same that are going to die of the flu, and all of them, and all those numbers were intermingled. So flu deaths were COVID deaths. Pneumonia deaths were COVID deaths. So again, it's hard to tell some of the numbers, but it was proven. Ivermectin, monoclonal, hydroxychloroquine, sunlight, all the things that you were deprived of actually saved lives. And Anthony Fauci made sure that none of them were allowed to be used. And he replaced it with remdesivir. And that part Peter McAuliffe didn't even talk about. Remdesivir, who kills 53% of its recipients. And that was already proven. But since that's a Gilead drug and Anthony Fauci's butt buddies with Gilead, it's the only approved. Donald Trump's taken it all. He took remdesivir when he got COVID. He's been 3 or 4 times vaccinated for COVID. It's amazing he's alive. But anyway, greatness of Trump. He's alive. There you go. But anyway, so he suppressed all the things that actually worked, replaced it with remdesivir that killed 53% of its recipients in its trials. And all these things are coming out now. It's so wild that in order for you to be a compliant child under the Anthony Fauci NID CDC vaccination schedule, you have to take between 73 and 95 vaccinations if you're a compliant child. None of which has ever had a double-blind placebo clinical trial. And Anthony Fauci swore for years that they did. And then when it was finally demanded for him to turn over the paperwork, he refused to turn it over, then had to publicly acknowledge that none of them have ever had a double-blind placebo test trial. I mean, how's he not in federal prison? I mean, think about that alone. All of the, I mean, he was in the NIAID from 1980 till what, 2022, 2023, right? When Biden got done, all right? So towards the end of the Biden administration. So anyway, all those decades, he said publicly that all of the vaccines that kids are forced to get in order to go to school, that are forced to get, they all had a double-blind placebo trial. None of them did. He just bold-faced lied. He knew the whole time they didn't. It's all been proven that they didn't. How's nothing going on? Where's Kash Patel? Where's the FBI? Where's state and local law enforcement? I mean, these are mass. I mean, you want to talk about a Holocaust. The vaccines alone that Anthony Fauci pimped, that he said stop transmission and infection, didn't. Said was safe and effective, weren't. Killed 35 million people worldwide, according to the Society of Actuaries. And it's far higher than that because those Society of Actuaries is people who actually have life insurance. Most people don't. So how many did they really kill? But yet he's walking around scot-free and refusing to answer a congressional subpoena. 2 crimes. Fraudulent concealment, where he didn't allow proven prophylactics against COVID. He just suppressed them all. Monoclonals, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. Suppressed them all. Made fun of people. Didn't allow people to get them, whatever it may be. Also, he could get out the next crime that he committed, which is mass negligent homicide, which is the vaccines, of course. Where am I at? Go to the next one for me. I still got the time for this one. All right, correct. Elon Musk, correct. USAID, this is what he's talking about from the Alex tweet. Do I have all that? Did I get all that out? Do you have the individual slides, Will? Did I give you those?
I have this. Yeah, the next one.
Yeah. There you go. That's all I need. Thank you. Yeah, just put that big one up. There it is. USAID official and 3 corporate executives plead guilty to decade-long bribery scheme. You think Anthony Fauci is not guilty of these crimes? Bribery scheme involving $550 million in contracts. Just because they publicly come out and they're absolutely flabbergasted and astonished that they would ever be accused of crimes. Like, that's how Hillary Clinton is. Oh, come on. Come on, right. Like I would ever do that. You would do that. They're nasty, homicidal people. $550 million in contracts. 2 companies admit criminal liability for bribery scheme and security fraud. Just go down the bottom. Former USAID employee pleads guilty to CARES Act fraud. Go to the next one. Former contractor for USAID funded program extradited to the United States, convicted and sentenced for conspiracy to obtain grant money through fraud. What a shock. Look at the bottom. Director of USAID project arrested in 9-year fraud scheme. I just want everybody to know where our money's going. There you go. All right, 10-10. That's good. What do we got for rants, Aaron? I saw a couple pop up.
Yep, we've got 3.
All right, 3 rants.
Lexi Dog 8 donated $20. Keep the faith and be blessed.
Will do, Lexi Dog. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the rant. Thank you. Go to the next for me.
Jules 21 ORs donated $10. Prayers, please, for our friend Jane. She's having a rough time with lots of pain and asking for God's help.
Is that Jeannie here in the chat?
Yeah.
Jeannie Malfisi. For Jeannie, we lift her up to you right now, Lord. In the mighty name of Jesus, Lord, you want her healed. You took up our infirmities and you carried our diseases, Lord. You want us well. And we just receive right out of the covenant of Jesus Christ, through the power of the Holy Ghost, her complete and total healing. We believe, Lord. Help our unbelief. We receive this healing, Lord, right now in Jesus' mighty name. All right, go to the next one.
Skunk71 donated $10. Keep in the word, peeps. Fellowship, prayer, study. Keep reading the Bible. It's better than any ex-post. Love Pastor Tom, TLP team, and all my foundation family.
Amen. Study to show yourself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. 2 Timothy 2:15. I see Tim L. T-Bird just came on. Thanks, Tom, for all you, the crew, do to bring us this information. Love you, Tim L. T-Bird. Thank you so much. USAF on the end. Thank you for your service. Love you, man. All right, that it?
Oh, we got another one there that just popped up.
Oh, that's Tim L. T-Bird, right?
JD Joy.
Oh, JD Joy. Thank you, JD Joy. All right.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart, soul, and mind.
All right. Let me see. Is that what she said? Trust in the Lord with all your heart, soul, and mind. Will do. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding in all your ways. Acknowledge him and he will make your path straight. Proverbs 3:5 and 3:6. Love you all. Stick around for the post game back here tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. God bless you.
Time to check in with our lizard overlords in Davos, Switzerland. What are they up to? Well, this. Thank you for watching. Yeah, those people run the world. They're so impressive. What a bunch of freaks.
Nice. Yeah. Oh.
I need my shoes. I need my shoes. Let me get my shoes.
What's another?
She right here. Let's go her. Right here.
Israel has the right to do whatever it wants. Yes, Israel. Oh, Israel, I love you so much. Whoa, whoa.
Call this the biggest loss for many different reasons. This is what, you live and you learn in life, and you figure things out as you go along. So one night I'm over at the Rio, right? And they got big suites over there. So I go over there with some buddies, and we got one of the suites, and we have some dinner, and we start drinking, right? So we're having some drinks at dinner and blah, blah, blah. Starts to ramp up, I'm having a good time. And I make my way down to the high limit room. We start gambling, and I continue to drink, having a blast. I end up leaving and going home that night, and I lost like 80 grand, right? So I wake up the next morning, I'm like, fuck, those motherfuckers got me for 80,000 last night, and da-da-da-da-da. So I'm at work the next day, and the host over there calls me, and he says, "Hey, Dana, are you coming back? Do you still need the room that you guys had where you ate and all the shit you used to?" And I said, "No, I don't need the room, but don't get too comfortable with my fucking 80 grand. I'm coming back for it."
Yeah.
Dead fucking silence on the other end of the phone. And he's like, "Dana, you lost $3 million last night." What the fuck are you talking about? I only have a $1.5 million credit line. He goes, "Yeah, you made us call the GM of the hotel, and you started calling him a fucking pussy and da 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 da." And I went, that sounds like something I would do. Yeah.
This podcast is all about. We talk about a lot of political things, but underneath all of that is the Bible. I am unapologetically 100% in favor of is the Bible. Jesus is the Word. There is no delineation. If the Bible says it, that's what Jesus is, and that's what Jesus believes. That's what this podcast is actually about, is to actually alert people to what is coming and what is our responsibility.